to Smart Cities Week 2015. I'm Carol Stimmel, and I'm in the studio here with Riz Khaliq, who is the Director and Chief Marketing Officer with IBM, working on global public sector and smarter cities initiatives. Thanks for being with us, Riz.
Thank you for having me.
One of the things that I've noticed in your encounters with the press and your discussions is a lot of conversation and emphasis on community building. It's not the first thing I expect when I start to hear about smarter cities. I think we're going to be talking about technology. But that's not really the case and where you like to lead from in these discussions. What's that about?
Yeah, I think it's important. So first, thank you for having me here.
Yeah.
I think it's really important for citizens to be part of the dialogue. And the reason we think it's important is because when you think about some of these smarter cities projects, whether they're infrastructure, physical infrastructure oriented, building more roads, or building smart roads, or deploying a smart water system, or deploying some type of a smart utility grid or social services, this span beyond a single procurement cycle. This span beyond a single administration, if you will, from a leadership perspective. And it's critical for citizens to understand what is the value that they're going to be able to extract from this initiative that the government's launching. What impact does it have on their jurisdiction, their city, locality that they live in? Because we very much believe, at the end of the day, at a human level, every human has a need to belong to something. And when you think about a city, that's a brand. That city stands for something. And I, as a citizen of that city, need to be able to relate to that brand and have a sense of ownership. So having citizen engagement in any project, we believe, is a key part of it being successful as it scales and moves forward.
There's something really important in what you look at and emphasize in terms of smart cities thinking. So we tend to often be very North American centric. We tend to often, with technology solutions, want to have a cookie cutter approach, or, you know, build the technology and we'll be able to deploy it anywhere, all over the world. So you have a global perspective, and that's actually really important, I think, when we think about where we need to be strategically, because every community is different. And so I appreciate that you're talking about community building, but how does that actually work in practice? How do you scale that as a company that wants to be able to work with a global footprint like IBM does?
Sure, so and that's a great question. And I think from a scale perspective, I think you have to have a dialogue almost one step above technology, right? Even one step above citizen engagement. You have to have a dialogue about what is the economic competitiveness and economic vitality of that city.
Okay.
And the reason that's important is no matter what part of the world you live in, every single government leader, business leader wants to live in a city, jurisdiction that is the best, right? Either I'm best at music, I have a livable community that I can attract tax base to, the right type of citizens to. I have a livable community that's going to attract the right type of businesses to come and locate to my jurisdiction. I'm not singularly dependent on offering up tax incentives to attract that. And I think that resonates no matter what part of the world you're in. At the end of the day, each one of the cities wants to be recognized amongst its peers as a key location. And you see this trend increasing more and more when you see the ranking of most livable cities, the best place to raise your kids, the best place for under 20, and so on and so forth. And I think each one of those really talk to the attributes and the brand value of that city. And when you start engaging with leaders who understand that, it's relatively easy to get in and talk about technology. Because technology is not the reason you're not going to do something, nor it should be the reason you're going to do something. I think at the end of the day, you have to understand what is the ultimate bespoke experience that you want to provide to your citizenry to continue to grow the population, as a result to grow the tax base, to become a attractable and livable community for businesses that would want to locate in your jurisdiction. And that means whether you invest in your education systems, that means you invest in your transportation systems, water systems, and so on and so forth.
So Riz, you talked about bespoke solutions, and you know, I want to challenge you a little bit on that. So custom solutions are very difficult technologically speaking. So what do you really mean by that, and how are we possibly going to be able to introduce efficiencies of scale and to be able to create the solutions we need that are standards-based, open in the cities.
Let me clarify a little bit. So when I say bespoke citizen-centric services, I'm talking about bespoke experience for me as a citizen individual that I'm going to have with the city. That doesn't mean each solution is going to be unique and right, because from IBM's perspective, standards is a key.
Right.
In order for us to not only from an interoperability point of view, from a point of view of ensuring that security is to the point where data privacy and data residencies don't become an issue for any government. That's a fundamental base of the way IBM approaches any type of an engagement, is that it's got to be standards-based, it's got to be open and scalable. But when we're talking about bespoke experience, it's really for that citizen. So if I'm a government leader and I'm dealing with Jim, I want to provide that bespoke experience that Jim feels with his bank, with the grocery store he shops at.
Right.
The same type of experience. Because at the end of the day, if I don't do that, Jim is already pulling me in that direction. Because as a citizen, I am used to engaging with banks in a certain way. Why should I engage with my government in any other way, especially if I'm paying my taxes, I'm a productive member of that community? I should be able to get the same experience as I'm getting that me at the center core of your services that you're providing.
I want to talk to you a little bit about this concept of economic vitality. So if we're able to have a scalable, standards-based technology, best in practice, but we can provide this custom experience to each individual, that makes my city more livable for me, more livable for my family, makes it easier for me to get where I need to get, to find the things I want, to do the things I want to do.
Right.
So can you just close that loop then from that personal experience to the economic vitality and health of a city?
Sure. So one of the things that I think, from IBM's perspective, one of the points that we've actually put into the marketplace is that, data is the natural resource of the new century. Right? At the end of the day, the same way you refine oil, the same way you keep the waters pure and so on and so forth, data is that natural resource. Right. And that data is being generated from you as a citizen on a daily basis. Everything from what you do, from the way you interact once you sign on, to your location of how much congestion or traffic you deal with and so on and so forth. That data could really be leveraged in a way that provides a unique service to that citizen from a government's perspective. But we have to be careful, right? Because when, for example, if I'm a consumer and I'm buying something from Amazon, I recognize if I go on Amazon.com or any other online portal and I'm looking at, for example, the latest laser for measuring, wall length or whatever it might be, and Amazon knows that I'm interested in that product and I leave that, and next time I come back I see 10 different options for me. Well, I'm understanding that as my transaction that I'm having with Amazon because I'm getting a unique value from that, right? So I'm relinquishing some level of data to Amazon to get a benefit. With governments, it's different, right? Because especially when you put it in the context of the US, we are very much anti-Big Brother watching and yada, yada, yada. But we also are quickly and very much realizing that we are accepting certain type of data privacy, we're relinquishing some of that to get the benefit out of the services that we're consuming. That same model could very much be applicable for example, if I'm sitting on, take predictive analytics around transportation. I'm willing to, me as a consumer, am willing to let the Department of Transportation of a certain state or city have information about my location if that's going to help me avoid that 2-hour delay,
right.
If that's going to allow me to get to my destination a lot faster, if that's going to allow me to get a better experience as a citizen so I can be more productive. And transportation is a really interesting topic, right? I live in the Washington, D.C. area. Washington, D.C. is one of the most congested cities in the country, especially on the Northern Virginia side. According to the Texas Transportation Institute that really looks at transportation issues, the economic impact of congestion in the U.S. is over $1,600 per citizen. Yeah. Think about that. Yeah. That's for them sitting in traffic. Think about the pollution that causes from cars sitting idle on the highways for hours on end. if that could be streamlined, if I as a citizen can get information dynamically based on algorithms, based on the data that's available, that could predict out where congestion is going to be, and I can avoid that, that helps my competitiveness. That helps me to be a more productive citizen. That helps me to get home to my family a lot faster to have dinner. That allows me to leave later for work. So it's quality, it goes back to this theme around having solutions that are livable.
Right, and we're talking about, you know, I really like this whole kind of virtuous circle you've constructed here, because with good governance, you're creating trust with your citizens. The more you provide to them, that improves their quality of life, their livability, their dedication in turn to your services in your city. You know, kind of creates that economic vitality, if I'm following you.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm hearing. I think that's an argument against leading with community and not technology.
Yeah.
You know, when we show up. And also thanks for clarifying that idea about custom solutions and bespoke solutions, because those are very unpopular.
That's right.
In technology, we want to talk about the platform and efficiencies, but we actually need all that to be able to create that unique experience for each citizen.
Exactly. And that's critical. And at the end of the day, you know, we very much believe that if the citizen's part of the dialogue, there's a sense of ownership that they take. And there's a sense of pride that gets developed. And again, go back to the brand of the city. The whole sense of belonging to a city, belonging to that brand, belonging to the attributes of that brand. That's what's going to make it sustainable and more effective and vital in the future as far as economic competitiveness is concerned.
Great. Well, Riz, thank you so much. So this is Riz Khaliq, Director and Chief Marketing Officer with IBM, working in the public sector and on smarter cities. So
thank you so much for having me, Carol.
Appreciate you stopping by and talking to us a little bit.
Great. Thank you so much.